Hello friends, welcome to another exciting session on IDP, and today we are going to discuss something about IDP with Anthos Config Management Operator along with our GUI tool as Port and some other GitOps based tools. Okay. So last time, as you remember, we discussed IDP with Crossplane, Port, GitHub Actions and Argo CD, and a few of my friends, colleagues, they suggested to come up something which is not only open source oriented, rather which is more Knative or cloud native, and that's why uh, I thought of coming up with a IDP based solution using Anthos Config Management Operator, which is provided by Anthos. So I hope that many of you must have a knowledge on uh, Anthos Config Management Operator and Anthos. So Anthos is a cluster management tool provided by Google, where it provides you a centralized platform to manage all your Kubernetes clusters, whether they are in the same cloud or in different clouds or on-prem. Suppose you have one cluster in EKS, one in GKE, and another is in AKS, and maybe another Kubernetes cluster on-prem. Then it will provide you a platform to control all those at enterprise level from a central place. Okay. And that central place is the Anthos control plane. Okay. So suppose you want to implement some network policy which will be implemented or which will be applied to all your infrastructure at organization level, then you can just push that to your Anthos control plane and it will be applied, or it will be pushed again to all the clusters which are getting managed by Anthos. Okay. So you have managed Kubernetes services, you have unmanaged Kubernetes services. Anything you can register to Anthos, and then onwards, Anthos is your point of control. Okay. So now let's try to understand about the Anthos Config Management Operator. Okay. So Anthos Config Management Operator is the GitOps tool provided by Anthos. Now it allows you to integrate with your Git repo, and it will constantly monitor that repo. Any changes which is uh, happening in Git repo, it will be sensed by the Anthos Config Management Operator, and it will be pulled and it will be applied to all the clusters managed by Anthos. So that is the concept behind Anthos Config Management Operator as a GitOps tool. Okay. Now Anthos Config Management Operator works along with another tool called as Nomos. Okay. And Nomos allows you to check the status of the applied changes. Suppose you are pushing some change, some YML manifest files to your Git repo. So those will be sensed by the config management operator and they'll pulled and applied here. Now Nomos with Nomos status, you can find whether those are applied to the cluster and that cluster is in sync with the Git repo or not. Okay, so the Nomos will constantly monitor the synchronization between your repo and your config, your Anthos managed clusters. Okay, so now in the earlier session, we had already discussed about how to implement IDP with Port, Crossplane, GitHub Actions, and Argo CD. Okay, and now we are replacing Crossplane and Argo CD with Anthos Config Management Operator. Okay, so we have already uh, um, a running Anthos cluster where I have uh, registered my GK. Okay, and the Anthos Config Management Operator is also uh, installed, and that is in sync with my Git repo. Okay, so now whatever changes I'll using my Port GUI, I'll push to the um, uh, repo. Okay, based on that, actually, what I am going to do, I am going to click a button, okay, to build one system, and once I click that button, it will trigger one pipeline. Okay, and that pipeline will push the changes to my Git repo, and so it will be basically the namespace, the manifest, then after manifest, the namespace is created, then the deployment manifest, and those will be again pulled by the Anthos config management operator because it is sensing the Git repo, and then it will apply it to the cluster. Okay. So as I discussed earlier, we can also create database schemas, tables using another tool called as SchemaHero, which is based on YML. We can also maintain our secrets inside our repo by using shelled secrets. So basically it will encrypt the secret so that we can maintain it in our repo. If we don't want that approach and we want to maintain the secrets inside our own secret management store, like your Google Secret Manager or AWS one, then uh, we'll have to install one operator here, external secret operator, and that operator will constantly monitor the secret manager store. Any changes, it will be pulled here, uh, and it will be applied to the cluster. Okay, so already we discussed all these points. So today we will see the demo, uh, which is based on this config management operator and port. Okay, so let's go to the demo. So this is my port GUI. Okay, so here I have created a few more buttons like create system and delete system. Okay, earlier I showed you creating a cluster and deleting a cluster using my Argo CD and control crossplane control plane. And now what we are going to do, we are going to create one system. So system is one environment, which is a one namespace, a logical isolation, and once that namespace has been created, it will also deploy the workload in the same namespace. Okay. So now, if you see here, I have already registered my cluster here. Okay. So my Anthos cluster, okay. And I have integrated my GitHub. Okay. So now, if you go to my Kubernetes cluster and select the project, so you can see here that this is my GK cluster. The name of this cluster is GitOps cluster. And if you go to Anthos, I have registered this cluster with a name called a GKE cluster. Okay, so let me go to my Anthos API, and you can see the cluster here as well. Okay. The same cluster has been registered here with the name GKE cluster. Okay. If you go to my cluster and see for the and look for the namespaces, so these are the namespaces which got created when I installed the Anthos Config Management Operator. Okay. So if you check all the resources inside this config management system namespace, you can see that there are certain pods running. Okay. So three important things. So the config management operator, okay, which is the controller. There is a git importer, okay, which will be importing the changes from your git to your cluster, and there is a monitor pod which is constantly monitoring the repo which has been configured. Okay. Now there is another component which is CRD. Okay. So if you see get kubectl get CRDs, then you can see here there is a CRD called as config managements.config management gke.io. Okay, and there is a cluster selectors config management gke.io. Okay, these two are the CRDs, and based on this CRDs, there is one resource got created which is called as config management, and this is the one. Okay, now if you try to see the content of this one, you can find that I have already pointed this config management operator to my repo. So I have integrated with this repo IDP demo, and I am constantly monitoring this particular policy directory. Okay. So this is my GCP config directory. So here if you go, so this is my GCP config. Okay. So whatever is there inside this, okay, that will be integrated or that will be pulled by the config management operator and applied to the cluster. So you can see here there is no namespace. This is just a dummy file, and there is no code here. Okay. So now suppose I am pushing one namespace. Okay. Then it will sense that change and it will push it to the cluster. Okay. Now let me go here. Let me show you what are the namespaces currently there. So we have these namespaces currently in our cluster. Okay. So now let me try to create one system. So with this create system, what I am going to do, I am going to create a dummy environment, and inside that I am going to deploy some workloads. Okay. So whatever my application, I want to deploy that application into this environment which I am going to create now. Okay. And once that is deployed and tested, uh, and the work has been done by the development and testing team, they can go and delete the system once their work is done. Okay. So first let's create. So development, so my namespace name is development. and my application name is maybe no builder dash tech. Okay, NBT. Okay, NBT development. Okay, I'm just creating a dummy system. So once I'll hit on this execute, okay, it will trigger one GitHub Actions pipeline. Okay, let's see. So I'm clicking on execute, and let's go and see. And you can see here it has triggered one GitHub Actions pipeline. Okay. And so what it will do, it will just if we go to the code in the GCP config in the namespace folder, it has created one folder and it pushed my namespace YML and my deployment YML there. Okay. So now if you go to ns, you can see the namespace is created here, and if you try to find what is deployed inside that namespace, or maybe get pods, and you can see here all these replicas are running. Okay. So you can see here that this particular folder is getting monitored by my config management operator, and any changes happening here will be deployed to my cluster automatically. Very GitOps way and too fast. Okay. So now my testing team or my development team has done their task, and now it is time to delete the system. Okay. So, and before that, I wanted to show you something. Nomos. Okay. This tool I already talked about. So this will be responsible for the sync. Okay. So Nomos, actually the command is status. Okay. So it is checking the sync between the repo and the cluster, and it is saying that it is already synced. Okay. Now try to delete the system. Okay. Now we saw that this is our namespace and we want to delete this namespace. Okay. So now we'll come here, we'll click on this one, we'll select the cluster, we'll get the name, and then we'll delete. Okay. So once we'll hit delete, again the action will be triggered, and if you go to, I just want to show you the status of the Nomos. So you'll see here that already it is changing to pending state because it monitored the repo and it found some changes and it is trying to apply that here. Okay. Now it is pending, so it now deleted and it is synced. So now try to find out the namespace here. So the namespace has been deleted here. Okay. So you can see how smooth, how fast, and how easy to implement this one. Okay. So going back to our presentation. So from port, we just tried to create one system. Okay. One pipeline got triggered. Okay. Then the pipeline pushed the required manifest files into the repo. and that repo is constantly getting monitored by our config management operator, and that change which was pushed here now will be pulled by a config management operator and pushed to our cluster. So just imagine that you want to apply one policy at organization level, at an enterprise level. You just need to push that change to the repo, and that will be applied to all your clusters, Kubernetes clusters managed by Anthos. Okay. So this is IDP without any open source tool, with cloud native Anthos Config Management Operator. I hope that you'd like this video, and we'll discuss some more concepts about GitOps, IDP, and Kubernetes in our coming sessions. And please subscribe to my channel and like. And thanks for your time. We'll come up with some great topics in future. Thank you.